And we're back with another match of the Japan versus Spain friendly match that happened between the World Cup champion of 2025 and the World Cup champion of 2024. Some high-level Pokemon gameplay. Let's get right into it. Our next match coming up, and it's going to be between Alcana and Javi. And I think you also have a couple of insights about both of those players, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Alcana is known as Kiwamo Endo. What am I saying? The name is Kiwamo Endo, a really strong Japanese player. I believe got second at Japan Nats in 2024. Has a top 16 to their name in Worlds 2018, and then a 2021 Japan Nats top 16. Most recently, they have a 2026 or a LASC 2025 top 16. So lots of success in the IRL circuit. And then Javi, also really strong, has a top 8 at Lille 2026, so a pretty recent result there. Has been heating up. I believe that's his best finish overall, with a top 32 at Bologna 24 and a top 25 at Seville 25. So has been building on his accomplishments and finally has that top 8 that a lot of players covet, up against a really strong player in Alcana who has been doing it at a high level for a long time. So a bit of a veteran versus newcomer, or at least, I'm not sure when Javi started overall, but yeah, Alcana's most early results date back a lot further, but Javi really popping off lately.
And we also got the teams for both players, so we can have, I think, just a very, very brief look here at Javi's team first. It's going to be a Ursaluna and Porygon team as well, but this time it's going to be with Tornadus and the Splash Plate on Urshifu. So a little bit of a different team compared to what we saw in the very first set of the day from Taboo. And then we got to be very quick here, just a very brief look at Alcana's team as well. Very, very standard team there with the Calm Mind, Raging Bolt, Stomping Tantrum on the Ogerpon notably, and yeah, of course, Incident, Rillaboom, Focus Sash, Urshifu. We are very familiar with this. But yeah, we are already jumping into the game right away. Sorry for the timing here, but well, I'm down for some Pokemon action, so why not? Let's have a look at Alcana against Javi here.
Yep, we see Incineroar Porygon 2 led by Javi versus the Fluttermane and the Ogerpon on Kiwamu's side. So yeah, really kind of sensible leads from both, where there's not really any immediate knockouts being threatened, but they're trying to position themselves better for later in the battle. The Ogerpon probably offering the most immediate pressure outside of the Porygon 2 unless it goes through the terrestrialization to the flying type, but you could just as easily just see a parting shot Trick Room for a little bit more defensive of a turn to a safe, to safely get in that Ursaluna for the Trick Room.
Yeah, and it seems like Alcana is eyeing a very, very offensive turn 1 here with the Terra Fire on Ogerpon, going for it right away, but Javi doesn't want to be caught here by some big damage from Alcana, or a taunt potentially as well. Is going to withdraw the Porygon, and well, let's see how much damage this Ogerpon can do. Maybe with that dreadful critical hits, of course, that we see sometimes from the Ivy Cudgel.
Yeah, it could be rewarded pretty critically if there's no fake out into the Ogerpon and the Ivy Cudgel does come out into that Ursaluna. Oh yeah, it is no fake out. So Thunderwave going to go into the Incineroar, going to make it less likely to act later in the battle as well as lower its speed. We're going to see the Ivy Cudgel come out next. It is the Ivy Cudgel. If it gets the critical hit, that's an easy knockout. Regardless, going to be a lot of damage here. It is the critical hit.
Wow.
Oh, not quite a knockout though, but going to be just in range of 2 turns of burn most likely. And that Incineroar does get paralyzed. Just immediately rewarded for going on the offensive there from Alcana's side. Really great turn 1. Couldn't have gone better almost.
Yeah, I mean, that is a big turn 1 play there. Getting that Thunder Wave off on Incineroar definitely is going to help with the next couple of games, or the next couple of turns rather as well. Setting up for success here. 2 status conditions over on the opponent. Ursaluna about to go down for the burn. Incineroar is paralyzed, and this went pretty much as well as it could have for our Japanese player here. But of course, Javi is not going to go down without a fight, going to protect Ursaluna right here, and we'll try to get something done with Incineroar this turn.
Yeah, Moonblast going off, not going to do a lot of damage, just, I believe, due to the Assault Vest. I didn't quite track just how fast we sped through Team Preview, but yeah, the Ursaluna going to get the Protect off, no attack coming out, and we see, another paralysis, so no U-turn, no Flare Blitz, no nothing from that Incineroar this battle.
Yeah, and that's pretty bad. Yet it is in fact Assault Vest on Incineroar, but just being stuck there on the field for so many turns without really accomplishing anything means that Ursaluna, yeah, would go down. But Javi is like, okay, well, I might as well just save it for later. It's not really going to do too much in this battle, but yeah, maybe you can switch it in a crucial turn just to get a free swap into something else. Brings in Porygon, but it is welcomed with a Moonblast from Fluttermane and another special attack drop. Alcana really getting, well, not all the luck, but definitely getting some of it here in this game. Let's see if it's another critical hit. Nope. At least Javi is spared by that, and Incineroar finally gets to move. We'll go for U-turn.
Yeah, I like the double up into the Porygon slot, or rather the previous Ursaluna slot, unless there's a double protect, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense given that you'll get knocked out by the burn chip the next turn. It means if the Porygon or the Amoonguss, which we see in the back, had come in that turn, they're either knocked out or they take a whole lot of damage and are most likely in range of another attack the next turn. However, with the Amoonguss coming on the field this turn and the Terrafire used on the Ogerpon, you can no longer read or attack around the Rage Powders from the Amoonguss. So the Porygon 2, if it wants to, is free to finally set up a Trick Room and maybe trying to take some control of this battle.
Yeah, but yeah, then you would invest quite a bit. I mean, you can potentially go, I guess, for the Terra Fairy on the Amoonguss, yeah, but then you take a double up. It could just be a taunt, but it is Mental Herb on the Amoonguss. So yeah, I would probably go for the Ivy Cudgel and Moonblast double up there. Yeah, it is going to be the Rage Powder. Taunt coming up, but this should be a Mental Herb. I don't know how crucial it's going to be to remove that item from play here, but maybe you're confident that Ivy Cudgel is going to knock out Amoonguss anyway. Let's see how much damage that does, though. Yeah.
Yep, we see the Ivy Cudgel comes out and does knock out the Amoonguss. So yeah, wasted taunt, but best you could do otherwise was an Icy Wind to get around that Rage Powder, so no harm done there. As the Trick Room does get set up, we do have one turn of Ursaluna active on the field. You can protect with the Ogerpon, but thankfully the Fluttermane doesn't have protect, so you can get some momentum off of that. Maybe buy yourself a turn to go for a recover on the Porygon if the Ogerpon doesn't want to go for a protect. Yeah, gonna kind of really needs to make use of these Trick Room turns, but not a lot of HP to do it.
Yeah, not a lot of HP to do it. Well, finally, Trick Room is set up, but yeah, it might just be a little too late, of course, especially with that Ursaluna being so low. And well, Porygon can recover, but unfortunately, Ursaluna can't. So Porygon will be quite healthy at the end of this turn. Ursaluna gets the knockout on Fluttermane here, which is, yeah, it's great for Javi, but yeah, I'm afraid, unfortunately, Ursaluna will also go down at the end of this turn. And then the lonesome Porygon 2 will, let's say it's unlikely that it can manage to turn this game around.
I think the Incineroar, although didn't make a lot of presence, didn't really make its presence known earlier in the battle, I think it's still around.
Yes.
So at least you have that working in your favor. But yeah, with the Fake Out active on the Rillaboom and the Urshifu in the back, there's just so much HP that you have to get through in now 3 remaining turns of Trick Room that it's going to be a really difficult comeback with all the defensive resources that Kiwamo still has on their side.
Yeah, it is still paralyzed, and it is, yeah, not going to do too much damage to Urshifu or that Terrafire Ogerpon. But yeah, of course, you're right. It's never over until it's over. There joins, I think that said Wolf's Incineroar for Javi. So he got that event going. Intimidate is surely nice on Ogerpon that now has a reduced attack stat despite going for the Terrestrialization earlier in the battle. But yeah, with so much potential here still for Alcana, I think he can go for a Detect, switch in the Rillaboom, for example, then go for Fake Out next turn and just get rid of something. I mean, there's still Terra in play for Javi, if I'm not mistaken. So it could be either the Terra Grass on the Incineroar or the Terra Flying over on the Porygon. But yeah, neither of those would really help too much, I would say.
Yeah, I didn't quite catch it, but I do think if it wasn't a special attack boost earlier in the battle on this Porygon 2, actually didn't it get special attack drop with the Moonblast on switch in? The damage into the Ogerpon back is just not there. And Kiwamo recognizes this, switches out so that you can get the Embody Aspect attack boost back up later in the battle and potentially just bait a Terrestrialization out here, which we do see which we do see, it is that terrestrialization on the Porygon 2. Doesn't want to take a close combat and also wants a little bit more power into that Urshifu with the super effective Terra Blast, as opposed to just the normal super effectiveness. But yeah, really good call. We see the Flare Blitz, and it is a very offensive Adamant Incineroar, able to knock out the Rillaboom in one hit. Yeah, if Kiwamu's targeting was improper here, maybe close combated the Porygon and left the Incineroar alone, we might have some semblance of a comeback here. Unlikely, but at least there's something.
Yeah, let's see though. Incineroar is going for the close
Nope.
combat. Yeah, we'll knock out Incineroar pretty much no matter the Terra or not. So nice call, or just a guaranteed way of knocking out Incineroar this turn. And now it is a true 2v1. We got the Urshifu, and we still have Ogerpon, which will get another attack boost now. And yeah, now it's really lonesome. But the Porygon 2 probably doesn't have enough gas in the tank to come back against these two physical menaces.
Yeah, I like the idea there from Javi. You acknowledge that you pretty much have to make a read here, and the Ogerpon is at -2 attack or -1 after the Embody Aspect attack boost at this point. So it probably wants to switch out, given how safely it can close out the game. Goes for the Terra Blast, and the Urshifu maybe hoping for a close combat or a Surging Strikes in the Porygon 2, but Alcana doesn't bite for that, just goes for the close combat, which, like you mentioned, should knock out even despite... might have been close, actually. If it had gone for the Terra Grasp, maybe would have been close after the Intimidate Acto on the Urshifu. But yeah, doesn't go for that, gets the knockout in the Incineroar, and now it's very safe. You can go for a double Protect, stall out a few more turns of Trick Room. Even if Porygon 2 goes for a Protect, you really just can't deal with this Ogerpon at this point.
Yeah, definitely, no risks needed. You don't need to, protect one and attack with the other. That would be the one way to still maybe lose this game to some critical hits. But Alcana is not going to go down to something like that. Instead, we'll probably see just a Searching Strikes and Ivy Cudgel next turn. I think one more turn of Trick Room left. So yeah, just the double up of either of these moves, even if there's Ice Beam, Freeze, whatever comes out now, it's not going to be enough for Javi.
Yeah, no Ice Beam, Freeze, so not stalling out this game any longer than it has to be. The Surging Strike's going to be followed up by the Ivy Cudgel for a swift knockout into this Porygon 2 and a relatively convincing Game 1 from Alcana. Keep in mind, though, there was a really relevant critical hit on the first turn that essentially only left the Ursaluna with one turn to make use of the Trick Room, which, as we can see, really limited its effectiveness in this battle. So, something that Javi needs to be aware of. Alcana willing to make those big swings on the turn 1. How do you think Javi's going to be able to adjust after that Game 1 loss, now down 1-2 versus Japan in the overall set? A lot of pressure for him here.
Yeah, lots of pressure on Javi's shoulders for sure, because as you point out, if Japan wins this, then the match would be decided in favor of Japan. So yeah, Javi needs to make the comeback here. I think Tornadus is actually a Pokemon that I think has a pretty decent matchup into these type of teams, especially if they forego the Raging Bolt, because with the flying coverage and the beak, the sharp beak that it's holding indicates that it is maybe a little bit more offensive. And if you can find a couple of Bleakwind Storms against the likes of Rillaboom, Incineroar, Urshifu, Ogerpon, then maybe that's a way for him to kind of power through the team. But of course, Raging Bolt is the one problem that would stop this plan right away. So interesting decision making here as well for both players, I guess. For Alcana, do you want to kind of adapt? Do you want to bring the Raging Bolt here? And then for Javi, I think if you expect your opponent to not bring the Raging Bolt, then I think going with something like a Tornadus and Urshifu, maybe even with Ursaluna in the back for a potential Tailwind mode. I don't know how fast the Ursaluna is, but that is certainly something that Javi could be considering here.
Yeah, I like that you pointed out the Ursaluna speed. It's definitely a big question mark, where if it is in the more of a middle speed range, it should be able to outspeed the Raging Bolt in the Tailwind. But if it is minimum speed, then most Raging Bolts are trained a little bit faster so that they can speed creep each other, but coincidentally also should be outspeeding a minimum speed ×2 Ursaluna. So that's something that Javi knows. Alcana probably is expecting a little bit of speed, and so is maybe preparing for that. But could really just make the read that, the Ursaluna mode just got so overwhelmed last time. We can bring the Raging Bolt and counter that Urshifu Rain Dance Tailwind mode that you commented on before. Like you said, the Bleak Winds are going to be such a problem if that comes out. But yeah, if the Raging Bolt is led, can really kind of just force Javi on the back foot again. And we saw Alcana just really took over that game when Javi was on the back foot. So Raging Bolt could be a path to accomplish that, or you could go for the more consistent option that you went in the first game. But it is that Raging Bolt coming out and the Tornadus, like you called out perfectly, Marcus. Big adjustment from both of these players, but at least based off of lead, it looks like Alcana has the typing advantage with the Raging Bolt into that Tornadus.
Yeah, as you say, it's a big decision to make here. You really don't want to have your Raging Bolt against like a, I don't know, Incineroar and Ursaluna opening or something like that. But yeah, it's perfectly positioned here against the Tornadus. And so a nice call out here by Alcana saying that, okay, you have to change something up. I think it's likely that you either want to do it with Urshifu or Tornadus. I don't even care which one it is. But bringing Raging Bolt up front means that I will have a tool against either of those options. And yeah, Javi already has to swap out Tornadus. However, it's Amoonguss, and that I think is a great switch in. Because yeah, that's one of those Pokemons that Raging Bolt really doesn't want to deal with.
Yeah, it goes on the defensive, interestingly, with the Raging Bolt. Had a Calm Mind there, although could have taken a Fake Out or a Knockoff. Obviously didn't want to risk that. We see U-Turn coming out from the Assault Vest Incineroar on Javi's side, which does act before the Incineroar on Alcana's side. So both could have clicked Fake Out. I think Javi a little safer too, whereas Alcana maybe less likely to, given they could get Fake Out themselves. But yeah, it is just a parting shot from this Incineroar, which I believe was the Citrus Berry. Critical in this match since it's I'm not certain about that. I won't call it for sure, but yeah, if it's Safety Goggles or Citrus Berry, going to matter a whole lot as relative to switching into the Amoonguss. But yeah, we do see a pretty strong turn one, or at least lead from Alcana, now a little bit mitigated by the Amoonguss coming in on the field to neutralize the threat of the Raging Bolt somewhat. But Alcana answers in turn by getting the Rillaboom in, which can ignore the Amoonguss and attack the Urshifu directly with his Grass typing ignoring Rage Powder.
Yeah, it's always against Amoonguss. It's this little dance, and yeah, it's quite difficult for the Raging Bolt player to really kind of prevent the sleep from happening altogether. I mean, you could try and like, okay, you can Fake Out now and switch in Incineroar, and then you Fake Out again, but you're not really accomplishing anything at that point. So sometimes in these matchups, it is also about knowing when you are okay taking the sleep and when, well, the Amoonguss can maybe take Raging Bolt to sleep, but then, well, what's going to damage the Raging Bolt, right? Is it going to be Urshifu, Tornadus, Incineroar? Like, it's going to be very difficult to power through that. But nice play there by Alcana saying that, okay, well, your Urshifu is under so much pressure. I have two Pokemon on the field that could hit it for super effectively. Surely you're going to switch it out. So I'm going to target down Amoonguss with a Fake Out and just set up a Calm Mind. And yeah, that works out perfectly and allows Alcana to now maybe just go for another Protect and Switch play.
Yeah, I really like your insight into the Pokemon that Javi has brought. Really having no output offensively into this Raging Bolt. The best you have at this point is Incineroar's knockoff. Maybe you could hope for a Sludge Bomb poison that might be better than Spore. Or you just have to Spore the Raging Bolt, hope for some favorable sleep turns, and hope you can find the damage with close combat or Surging Strikes after the Raging Bolt terastallizes. But with the Intimidate, with the Grassy Terrain, with the leftovers being active against all these Pokemon, it's going to be so hard to deal with this Raging Bolt with the Calm Mind up.
Yeah, absolutely. And, well, now Alcana, as we said, could go for this Protect and Switch play. Could also just try and maybe fish for something here since, yeah, well, maybe you want to try and double up into the Incineroar slot if you're Javi just to make something happen. It seems like he wants to make something happen, but with the Amoonguss, actually with the Terra Fairy, wow, and I think, yeah, that critical hit, yeah, definitely very helpful for Alcana as well. Getting fortunate once more. But the Amoonguss Terra allows it to be immune now to this Dragon Pulse. And so after U-Turn comes out from Incineroar, this Amoonguss is still going to be at full health. Can't take Raging Bolt to sleep with Spore. And, well, while we saw a lot of damage going to Incineroar, at least it didn't go down to this high horsepower.
Yeah, but such an important crit. We see it's actually a Sludge Bomb, maybe expecting that Raging Bolt to, go for a defensive play, didn't want to go for the immediate Spore, wanted more damage into the Rillaboom. The critical hit in the high horsepower onto the Incineroar matters a whole lot because this Amoonguss, I believe, is carrying the Pollen Puff. One of the few in the metagame that could. Going to be a lot harder to switch in that Incineroar safely now that it's on maybe 10% HP rather than the 50% it would otherwise be at given the high horsepower crit. But yep. Yeah, we missed the opportunity to put that Raging Bolt to sleep, and now the Urshifu is on the field once again a little bit threatened. Of course, you have the Rage Powder to avoid that, and that's probably what we see. Javi threatening a really safe, not safe, but yeah, able to go for Rage Powder close combat into the Rillaboom slot and at least start taking KOs and making the Raging Bolt just a one-man island that can't carry the battle on its own.
Yeah, and I think that is what we will have to see there. Amoonguss shutting down Raging Bolt completely, and the close combat will knock out Rillaboom right away. So yeah, this Raging Bolt currently has no way of dealing with this Terra Fairy Amoonguss. So yeah, I guess that is the one solution that Javi has. We already said it's quite tough to take on Amoonguss, to take on this Raging Bolt kind of with offensive moves. But if you can just lock it out of the game completely with this Terra Fairy redirection, we've seen strategies like this before, of course, where just one Terra Fairy Pokemon that has a couple of strong status moves can be enough to really lock out Raging Bolt. And yeah, I think that's the strategy that Javi has to go for here, allowing Urshifu to do all the damage and turning this battle essentially in a 1v1.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You can see on Alcana's player cam that they're actually just really trying to figure this Amoonguss out. I didn't catch if it was a Rocky Helmet Amoonguss, but that would complicate things even further.
That's the Mental Herb. Yeah.
Mental Herb, of course, yeah. I saw that earlier in the battle. But even still, yeah, you can just go for a close combat into that Urshifu in 2. One Surging Strike isn't going to be enough to knock out the Amoonguss. You'd need 2. So yeah, if they're faster Urshifu on Javi's side, you can just go for 2 close combats. Like if it's a Jolly Urshifu, like we sometimes see on these Tailwind teams to make sure to outspeed max speed Fluttermane in Tailwind, 2 close combats would knock out the opposing Urshifu, and then yeah, I think this Amoonguss might be able to close it out.
Yeah, it's a very very niche kind of spot to be in, very very difficult to figure out. I mean, what you could try and do is just keep on setting Calm Minds with this Raging Bolt, expecting the Amoonguss to just keep on Rage Powdering, but does it really get you anywhere? I mean, a lot of the damage coming out from Javi's team is going to be physical anyway. And yeah, it seems like, okay, the one way to maybe deal with this Amoonguss would be the Terra Water Searching Strikes from Urshifu, but curious play there. Urshifu is not staying in there for Javi. It's going to switch out into Incineroar. Do you think it's going to be a Pollen Puff here?
I think that might have been the attempt, or you just want to make sure that your Urshifu survives later in the battle. I'm not entirely sure, but we do see the Urshifu go for the Terra Water. I think, really, if this is just a Surging Strikes as the Amoonguss goes for a Pollen Puff, that's a huge win for Alcana in dealing with this Amoonguss. We do see the Surging Strikes come out first. Of course, no priority coming out on this turn. No reason to Rage Powder to protect Incineroar. We see the Surging Strike doing a whole lot of damage. Going to be a secure 2-hit KO after the use of the Terastallization. Before wouldn't have been the case, but yeah, we're going to see if this is a Spore into the Urshifu. That could be all Javi needs to really gain some momentum in this battle and allow the Amoonguss to continue walling out this Raging Bolt. Let's see, was it Pollen Puff or Spore?
It
was Spore, but it's into the
Raging Bolt.
Oh, that's so interesting. Now you have the Tornadus to be able to threaten the Urshifu, but yeah, I think into the Urshifu, putting that asleep would have been really huge in allowing the Amoonguss to close this game.
Yeah, I think maybe Javi was a little afraid of Urshifu going for Protect. And yeah, he essentially was saying that, okay, like I'm a sacrifice Incineroar here. Like your Raging Bolt will probably target the other slot with a Dragon Pulse, and there's nothing I can really do about that. But by shutting the Raging Bolt down, at least for 1 turn guaranteed, and then maybe more turns in the future, this gives me the opportunity to maybe use Amoonguss and Tornadus to threaten this Urshifu, because, well, you could switch Amoonguss now into Urshifu and just go for the Bleak Wind. But yeah, and still, like, how do you deal with the Urshifu? Let's imagine the same scenario, but it's actually Urshifu that was put to sleep. Then, I mean, it's obvious that you can go for Rage Powder and just a couple of Bleak Wind Storms. And Alcana's team doesn't have the best defensive capabilities against flying type attacks. So yeah, maybe that was the way to go.
I think this is actually a really interesting situation. As we see the Surging Strikes will outspeed the Tornadus. Let's see if it's able to take the knockout. No, looks to be trained a little bit bulkier on the Tornadus, but yeah, if you're able to hit this Bleak Wind and break the Focus Sash on Alcana's side, then at this point you still probably can win with the Amoonguss and Urshifu. With Regenerator, it's probably healed. It does connect. Okay, that's the Surging Strikes into the Urshifu, and it's broken the Focus Sash. A speed drop would be cherry on top so that you can outspeed with the close combat, but yeah, you'd be susceptible to a close combat there. Yeah, just really important to break the Focus Sash, but you are susceptible to a first turn wake on, I believe, a Mystic Water Urshifu, knocking you out there. So not the most secure position for Javi still.
Yeah, it looked like, well, it was over from the very beginning against this Raging Bolt. But yeah, with Amoonguss and with a couple of Spores there, maybe you can create a positioning where Urshifu can win the game. Now, you have this turn where you could go for this Tailwind and attack play. Of course, Urshifu over on Alcana's side could go for an Aqua Jet. As we saw, it is outspeeding Tornadus. So Aqua Jet might just knock out Tornadus, prevent any sort of like Tailwind from going up. But then you kind of prevent Urshifu from doing something to your own Urshifu that way. So Javi can pretty freely go for close combat into the Urshifu slot this turn. Let's see if he does that, and let's see if the Raging Bolt has anything to say about that.
Yep, we see the Incineroar switch in. Tailwind comes out first. We see a clap. We see Alcana getting hyped up. Let's see if it's Thunderclap. And
more
it
claps.
Does wake up. The eyes are open. Thunderclap goes into the Urshifu, and it is a knockout. Oh, that's so huge. Now the damage into this Incineroar is going to be really limited as well, even though you have the Amoonguss in the back. Oh, it was Tailwind. You didn't even go for Bleak Wind that turn.
Yep.
Javi betting it all on that Raging Bolt staying asleep. 1 in 3 chance. Really, 67% chance that the Raging Bolt doesn't attack you, get the close combat there, and you maybe close the game off of that, but not the case. Now Tornadus versus Amoonguss. Going to be really hard to deal with this Incineroar Raging Bolt combo.
Yeah. Javi down to his last remaining 2 Pokemon. Well, Raging Bolt just woke up. You would need a double Spore at this point. And there's also Fake Out active for Alcana. Yeah, it seems like with this kind of adaptation in the second game, bringing Raging Bolt, even though, yeah, against the Pokemon that Javi brought in the first game, it would not have done a whole lot. I think that is what might decide the second game. Tornado's going for a Protect there, doesn't want to be knocked out by Fake Out, but Alcana's one step ahead once more. Fake Out into Amoonguss. Raging Bolt, yeah, can pretty safely then target down the Tornadus. Well, it did Protect, but no chance for Amoonguss to put something to sleep this turn. Stalling out the Tailwind turns even more, and even though this Raging Bolt is never, ever getting past the Amoonguss, as long as you can knock out Tornadus, then I think, yeah, you will have enough other Pokemon that can deal with Amoonguss in the end game. And so yeah, it's looking pretty bleak for Javi, who also misses a Bleak Wind Storm. Let's see though, yeah, with the speed drop, Amoonguss now should definitely be outspeeding this Incineroar. But as Tornadus goes down, it is Amoonguss versus the world.
Yeah, I think if this is Citrus Berry on the Incineroar, maybe you could have gone for a double Protect there and tried to Spore. Yeah, I think that was probably the out you need, to where you can hit multiple Bleak Winds and then just put the Incineroar to sleep. Maybe it's asleep all 3 turns. You Rage Powder away the Dragon Pulses, and then somehow you win that way. But I think shy of that, there really was no way for Javi to win. So yeah, maybe you can beat you can still just go for Calm Minds here. And whenever Amoonguss goes for a Thunderclap, you can, or whenever it goes for a Sludge Bomb, you'll get the Thunderclaps off. But I think the damage is done. Like with the Citrus Berry, you just don't have the damage with Sludge Bomb, even with critical hits, to knock out this Incineroar before it gets one Flare Blitz off. And at that point, you can basically just go for Aqua Jet, Thunderclap, and close out. But yeah, the Incineroar wakes up first turn, really expediting this game.
Yeah, I mean, and getting the burn as well. Wow. I mean, Alcana, did have quite a bit of luck in the first game as well, but it doesn't really matter at this point. I think the crucial moment was Raging Bolt waking up, getting that Thunderclap off, just one hit KOing Urshifu, and now, yeah, it is over, and both players know it. Javi decides to forfeit, throw in the towel, and Alcana will take it 2-0 over Javi for Team Japan. And that also means that in the overall standings, we now have Japan with 3 wins versus Spain's 1 win. So yeah, they will come out on top in this encounter.